You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Hey everybody, Dave here. I want to talk about our sponsor, LegalZoom. You know, I started my first business back in the early 90s, and what I would have done to have been able to have the services of an organization like LegalZoom back then. Just getting all of those business ducks in a row, all of that technical stuff, the legal stuff, the registrations of the business, the taxes, all of those things that you need to go through when you're starting a business, the hard stuff, the stuff that sucks up your time when you just want to get that business launched and out there. Well, LegalZoom has everything you need to launch, run, and protect your business all in one place. And they save you from wasting hours making sense of all that legal stuff. Launch, run, and protect your business to make it official today at LegalZoom.com. You can use promo code CYBER10 to get 10% off any LegalZoom business information product, excluding subscriptions and renewals. That expires at the end of this year. Get everything you need from setup to success at LegalZoom.com and use promo code CYBER10. That's LegalZoom.com and promo code CYBER10. LegalZoom provides access to independent attorneys and self-service tools. LegalZoom is not a law firm and does not provide legal advice except where authorized through its subsidiary law firm, LZ Legal Services, LLC. At the UN, Ann Neuberger frames ransomware as a growing public health crisis. Amazon confirms a MOVEit-related data breach. SAP provides patches and mitigations for a variety of flaws. Researchers identify North Korean hackers embedding malware in macOS applications. Hot Topic confirms a data breach affecting over 54 million customers. Halliburton reports a $35 million ransomware event. Ymir ransomware follows in the footsteps of Rusty Steeler. A Venezuelan man gets 25 years for romance scam kidnappings. Our guest is Tim Starks from Cyberscoop, sharing what he's hearing from Washington insiders as they prepare for the next Trump administration. And the Secret Service wonders if warrants are really required. It's Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thank you for joining us here today. It is great to have you with us. Ransomware is emerging as a public health crisis, not just a cybersecurity issue, according to a Biden administration official's remarks at the United Nations Security Council. Ann Neuberger, Deputy National Security Advisor, highlighted the increasing danger ransomware poses, especially to healthcare systems, and called out Russia for allegedly sheltering cybercriminals behind ransomware attacks. In a joint statement, 54 UN member states urged collective action to bolster cybersecurity and protect critical infrastructure, particularly in healthcare and emergency services. Neuberger pointed to major attacks by ransomware groups like Black Cat and Lockbit, which accounted for over 30% of global healthcare ransomware incidents in recent years, including attacks on hospitals in Croatia and France. The FBI recorded 249 ransomware attacks on U.S. healthcare in 2023 alone, severely disrupting patient care and delaying medical procedures. The U.S. has responded with a multi-pronged strategy, strengthening American cyber defenses, treating ransomware as a national security threat, and using diplomacy to disrupt safe havens for cyber criminals. The Counter-Ransomware Initiative, involving dozens of nations, has made headway, with 41 countries pledging not to pay ransoms. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin's regime allegedly uses ransomware groups as deniable assets, allowing attacks as long as they avoid Russian interests. As the international community steps up efforts, the uncertain future of U.S. leadership in combating ransomware may impact the global fight against this escalating cybercrime. Amazon confirmed a data breach exposing employee names, work contact information, and office locations, which appeared on a crime forum. The source of the breach was identified as MoveIt, the cloud data management tool, through a vendor managing Amazon's property data. Amazon stated its own systems are secure and emphasized that no sensitive employee data, such as Social Security numbers or financial information, was exposed. The vendor has reportedly resolved the vulnerability tied to an older zero-day in MoveIt transfer software. SAP released 8 new and 2 updated security notes in its November 2024 updates, with a high priority focus on a cross-site scripting vulnerability in Web Dispatcher, scoring 8.8 in severity. This flaw, exploitable by unauthenticated attackers, could allow full system compromise through cross-site scripting and SSRF attacks. SAP advises users to update or mitigate by disabling the admin UI. Another high-priority update addresses an issue in product design cost estimating, preventing unauthorized data access. SAP urges immediate patching to protect systems. Researchers at Jamf have identified North Korean hackers embedding malware in macOS applications developed using an open-source SDK, particularly targeting cryptocurrency sectors. This malware, discovered on VirusTotal, was initially undetected due to heavy code obfuscation, especially in apps built with Google's Flutter framework. Jamf found 3 malware versions written in Golang, Python, and Flutter, with techniques and infrastructure closely resembling North Korea's Lazarus Group. The malware exploited Apple's notarization process, bypassing security checks, and was hidden within a cloned version of the Minesweeper game. Although the malware triggered a URL request to a malicious domain, the domain returned a 404 error by the time of analysis. This same domain was previously associated with a North Korean campaign targeting blockchain engineers, reinforcing the attribution to North Korea's financially motivated cyber activities. Form I-9 Compliance, a company that handles employee eligibility verification, reported a significant data breach impacting over 193,000 individuals, up from their initial estimate of 27,000. The breach, detected in April but dating back to February, exposed sensitive data, including names and social security numbers. Impacted individuals are being offered free identity theft protection and credit monitoring. It remains uncertain if ransomware was involved, and no group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Hot Topic suffered a significant data breach affecting over 54 million customers, exposing sensitive information like emails, phone numbers, addresses, and weakly encrypted credit card data. The breach includes data from affiliated brands BoxLunch and Torrid and spans from 2011 through October of this year. Initially posted for ransom on a dark web forum, the data was later offered for sale at a reduced price. Researchers believe the breach originated from malware that compromised credentials for Hot Topic's third-party cloud services, granting attackers access to sensitive data. The threat actor, using aliases, promoted the breach across multiple forums, targeting a wide audience of potential buyers. Halliburton, a major energy services company, reported a $35 million cost due to an August ransomware attack, revealing the financial toll of cyber threats. The breach caused disruptions, limiting access to some business systems, and led to lost revenue, impacting earnings by 2 cents per share. Although Halliburton's quarterly revenue reached $5.7 billion, the incident underscores the financial risks of ransomware. Halliburton activated a cybersecurity response involving external advisors and law enforcement, but further details about stolen data or ransom payments remain unclear. Researchers at Kaspersky say a new ransomware family, Ymir, has emerged, targeting systems previously compromised by the Rusty Stealer malware. Initially documented in 2021, Rusty Stealer is a credential harvesting tool that enables hackers to infiltrate systems using tools like Windows Remote Management and PowerShell for lateral movement. Once access is established, Ymir ransomware is deployed, executing entirely from memory to evade detection. It uses the ChaCha20 encryption algorithm, appending random extensions to encrypted files and creating ransom notes in PDF format. Ymir also modifies the Windows registry to display extortion demands on startup. Although Ymir hints at data exfiltration, it lacks a confirmed data leak site. With Rusty Stealer serving as an access broker, Ymir could soon pose a widespread threat. Researchers note Ymir's in-memory execution and use of unusual tools as notable elements. In a report from GovInfo Security, cybersecurity experts warn that threat actors are preparing for potential shifts under a second Trump presidency, with Russia expected to intensify hacktivism and cyber attacks against pro-Western regions, particularly in the Balkans and Moldova. Experts anticipate AI-powered disinformation campaigns across Europe, with Moscow aiming to destabilize governments aligning with the EU. In the Middle East, Iran may escalate attacks on Western infrastructure, while regional groups ramp up DDoS efforts against Israel's allies. A renewed Trump administration might alter federal cyber policy, impacting NATO alliances and possibly leaving vulnerabilities in ransomware prevention efforts developed under President Biden. Additionally, China and North Korea are expected to increase attacks. China could target critical infrastructure, similar to the Salt Typhoon campaign, while North Korea focuses on cryptocurrency theft to fund cyber capabilities. Experts stress the importance of robust defenses, with CISA playing a critical role in safeguarding government and guiding private sector cybersecurity to combat evolving threats during this transitional period. DV Jose Rodriguez Delgado, a Venezuelan known as Sebastian, was sentenced to 25 years for luring U.S. citizens via online dating platforms into hostage situations in the Dominican Republic. Between July 5th and July 30th of 2022, Delgado kidnapped 3 victims, coercing them into vehicles where accomplices joined to hold them at knife point. Victims were forced to call family and friends, pleading for ransom payments directed to Delgado's online accounts, such as Cash App. Hostages were robbed and released only after payments were received. An investigation launched in August 2022 by Dominican authorities traced a kidnapping vehicle back to Delgado, resulting in his arrest on September 14th. Police found serrated knives in the vehicle, linking him to the crimes. This case underscores the dangers of online dating scams, with Delgado exploiting romance to trap and extort his victims. Coming up after the break, Tim Starks from Cyberscoop joins us to discuss what he's hearing from Washington insiders as they prepare for the next Trump administration. Stay with us. And now, a word from our sponsor, KnowBe4. It's all connected, and we're not talking conspiracy theories. When it comes to InfoSec tools, effective integrations can make or break your security stack. The same should be true for security awareness training. KnowBe4, provider of the world's largest library of security awareness training, provides a way to integrate your existing security stack tools to help you strengthen your organization's security culture. KnowBe4's Security Coach uses standard APIs to quickly and easily integrate with your existing security products from vendors like Microsoft, CrowdStrike, and Cisco, 35 vendor integrations and counting. Security Coach analyzes your security stack alerts to identify events related to any risky security behavior from your users. Use this information to set up real-time coaching campaigns targeting risky users based on those events from your network, endpoint, identity, or web security vendors. Then coach your users at the moment the risky behavior occurs, with contextual security tips delivered via Microsoft Teams, Slack, or email. Learn more at knowbefore.com/securitycoach. That's knowbefore.com/securitycoach. And we thank KnowBefore for sponsoring our show. Imagine this. Your primary identity provider goes down, whether it's a cloud outage, network issue, or even a cyber attack. Suddenly, your business grinds to a halt. But what if it didn't have to? Meet Identity Continuity from Strata, the game-changing solution that keeps your business running smoothly no matter what. Whether your cloud IDP crashes or your on-prem system faces a hiccup, Identity Continuity seamlessly shifts authentication to a secondary or even tertiary IDP, automatically and without disruption. Powered by the Mavericks Identity Orchestration Platform, Identity Continuity uses smart health checks to monitor your IDP's availability and instantly activates failover strategies tailored to your needs. When the coast is clear, it's a seamless switch back. No more downtime, no lost revenue, no frustrated customers. Just continuous, secure access to your critical applications every single time. Protect your business from the high costs of IDP outages. With Identity Continuity from Strata, downtime is a thing of the past. Visit strata.io/cyberwire to learn how Strata's Identity Continuity can provide seamless enhanced capabilities to your existing identity fabric and receive a free set of AirPods Pro. And joining me once again is Tim Starks. He is senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, welcome back.
Mighty Dave Bittner. Good to see you.
It's always the pleasure is mine, sir. The pleasure is mine. As you and I record this, it is just a few days after the big U.S. presidential election here. And of course, Donald Trump was victorious in his effort to be the next president of the United States. You are my man on the ground when it comes to having the inside track in Washington, D.C. What are you hearing? How are folks in cyber anticipating a second Trump term?
Well, they've been anticipating the possibility of this for a while, and so have I. I've written at least a couple stories about what we might expect out of the Trump administration. One was a little more focused on the kind of personnel that he might be looking to hire, and another was focused, it was around the time of the Republican National Convention and examining what few tea leaves we could read from the platform. But there are tea leaves to be read, and there are people who have insight on what's going on. And, one thing to keep in mind when we're talking about Donald Trump is he is ideologically unpredictable. You might think, he's talking about cutting the size of government, and he is, but does that mean he'll necessarily cut the cybersecurity budget? Those are some of the questions that people have. I'm happy to talk about where I think philosophically some things will land.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's controversial or unusual to say that in his last term, a lot of things were chaotic in the Trump White House.
Yeah.
I've spoken to folks in the intelligence community about the challenges that they faced interacting with the Trump White House and just trying to do their day-to-day jobs of keeping the U.S. safe and looking out for our allies as well. I'd love to hear your opinion of how do you think things are going to repeat what we had the last time, and may we see some change?
Yeah, I think we'll see more chaos, to be honest. I think that's a across the board prediction that we're seeing from a lot of people for good reason. A lot of the people who might have been putting on the guardrails for Trump in the last administration, those people are probably not going to be around this time. Most of them have said they don't want him to be president. So he's going to have to find new people who will probably be more compliant with what he wants. I think we can say safely that he has now a personal investment in Chinese hackers specifically that he might not have had prior. He's always been talking about China. He's always been talking about that issue, but now we've with the confirmed news accounts of Chinese hackers trying to get into his phone. We know he's animated by personal grievance at times, and that means he might be looking to ramp that up. At the same time, there's some conflicting personal grievances. He still probably has hard feelings toward CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, over what happened at the end of his last term, where the leader of that agency undermined some of his election security claims. And so, if you look at that combined with what has happened with Project 2025, whether you take that as gospel for what the Trump administration wants to do or not, I think it's fair to say it's a reflection of at least some of the things that the Trump administration believes. And that is an area where they basically have talked about really undercutting CISA, taking away its election security mission. And I think you could see that being an effect on CISA as an entity. At the same time, I was talking to somebody who had served in both administrations, and they had said that's still a pretty small percentage of CISA's budget. So what CISA's role will be going forward is a good question. Whether the regulation they have pertaining to the Cybersecurity Incident Notification Law, CERCIA, whether that might get curtailed or rolled back, that's a source of speculation from people I'm talking to. There's a broader regulatory question we can get into. We just started there. There's the question of what kind of new entities that new things that have cropped up since they were around. Things like the Office of National Cyber Director, that's something they haven't dealt with. The AI executive order. There's a whole host of things. And then there's the sort of general approach to things that could be different, how they handle these issues, not just philosophically, but tactically.
I think a lot of folks took comfort in the fact that for a long time, cybersecurity was enjoyed bipartisan support,
Yes.
broad bipartisan support. To what degree, these years later, is that still the case?
I think it's always been a little overstated that that's the case, personally. That's my personal viewpoint. I think that there's been partisan conflict that you can point to on cyber going back a long way. But I do think it's fair to say it's been less political than some other issues. I think if you look at the way CIS has been treated by Republicans versus Democrats, there are some Republicans that are very still much in favor of CISA organizationally and what role they think it is. But then you have senators like Senator Rand Paul, who simply refuses to give it any new authorities because he's so hostile toward it. I think that there's some issues that are still bipartisan, specifically between Trump and Biden. If we're looking at a continuation, if you looked at the RNC platform, they did talk about wanting minimum standards for cybersecurity for critical infrastructure sectors. That is something that this administration, the Biden administration, has really, really pushed hard. Now, are there going to be degrees of difference? I think so. I think there are going to be levels of this that Trump might be more comfortable with than Biden in terms of how far they want to go or how far they don't want to go. So there are areas where I think there is some bipartisanship. I think that there's some, interestingly enough, one of the somewhat bipartisan elements of what might be going on with, say, the responsibilities of the Office of National Cyber Director is that, Trump got rid of a White House role for cyber, the cyber czar. The Biden administration had indicated behind the scenes that they did not really want this office. And so there might be some weird sort of bipartisanship in a sort of negative direction toward one of the agencies that does this. Now that doesn't mean that this entity is the same as the entity that Trump had. It's a different entity. So there might be some ways in which he's more open to it. But there's some innate resistance that I think that might have to be overcome that had already existed under Biden and could continue based on what we saw from Trump last time around toward that particular office.
Do you have any sense for the folks that you've talked to that given the type of chaos that we saw in the first Trump administration, that they've been using this time to prepare for the possibility of President Trump's return to be in a better place to handle that particular kind of chaos?
Yeah, maybe not on cyber specifically, because everybody I've talked to has suggested that this is there are other priorities they have. Let's take even an example of within specific agencies. Within our world, the SEC's cybersecurity regulations are very, very controversial, very divisive. But at the SEC, Trump is going to have different things he's going to be wanting to figure out, is what I've been told. People are thinking who's going to even lead the SEC. And there's also issues related to independence of agencies. that's something that could actually enhance the chaos. If you're talking about agencies that had a sort of independent standing, how much will Trump saying he wants to rein them in and put them under his control more directly, how much more chaotic does that get? I suppose you could see more cohesion in a roundabout sort of way if that's the case. Going back to the thing you said about bipartisanship, I'll say that I think it's not necessarily the case that the executive order that the Biden administration is putting together, the second executive order on cybersecurity, is dead on arrival, because it's touching on things that, to some degree happened under the Trump administration. There are some similar issues that they're touching on there. It's not so much a matter of like, we're going to put in place some more regulations, which we might run into some partisanship about. It's about how do we want to secure our government, and some of those things could have carryover. So in terms of how much chaos there is, I think another thing that someone told me, same person I mentioned as before, who worked in both administrations, said, the Biden administration was very top down in terms of how it managed things. That led to some order, perhaps, but also some stifling of things that might bubble up from beneath, and ideas that people might have. So in some ways, that could have been a little more chaotic, especially at the agency level, because you're talking about a difference of approach and how much chaos there is in that. Whereas with the prior administration, the sentiment was, here's our goals, agencies, go figure it out. And that may be less orderly, but it also may, in a roundabout sort of way, be less chaotic for the agencies themselves, because they're not coming up with ideas and then having them shot down and then having to go back to the drawing board. They're coming up with the ideas and they're being trusted to come up with those things.
All right. Well, as we always say, time will tell. Tim Starks.
Time will, in fact, tell.
Tim Starks is senior reporter at Cyberscoop. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Quick question. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device, because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. And it's now available to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra, and in beta for Google Workspace customers. Check it out at 1password.com/cyberwire. That's 1password.com/cyberwire. And finally, in a piece for 404 Media, Joseph Cox describes internal emails which reveal that Secret Service officials disagreed over whether using an online surveillance tool required a warrant, sparking a legal and ethical debate within the agency. The app collects user location data from ordinary smartphone apps, which is then sold to third parties like Babel Street. Some Secret Service staff argued that agreeing to an app's terms of service effectively waives user privacy, while others questioned whether the practice violated the Fourth Amendment, referencing the Carpenter v. U.S. Supreme Court ruling, which requires a warrant for cell site data. Babel Street claimed no warrant was necessary since data was opt-in and hashed, supposedly keeping users anonymous, though a demonstration showed the tool could track individuals based on unique identifiers. Despite growing criticisms, including from Senator Ron Wyden, the Secret Service maintained it followed applicable laws. As the great musical philosopher Tom Waits said, "The large print giveth, and the small print taketh away." And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. Don't forget to check out the Grumpy Old Geeks podcast, where I contribute to a regular segment on Jason and Brian's show every week. You can find Grumpy Old Geeks where all the fine podcasts are listed. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K CyberWire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your team smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. Our mixer is Trey Hester, with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Simone Petrella is our president. Peter Kilby is our publisher. And I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the NSF's Scholarship for Service program or the DoD's Cyber Scholarship program. Both scholarships cover tuition, required fees, university-sponsored health insurance, and provide more than $30,000 in an additional annual stipend. Apply for these scholarships to start in the fall semester at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI.